Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I've got a really great craft for you that will help you save the environment too. Our town recently stopped recycling, so I really wanted to reduce my plastic use, and especially things like plastic wraps and foils and things like that that were just going to be going into the trash and incinerated otherwise and landfilled. So I didn't want to add to that any more than I had to, and I started looking online for different options. And one thing that I kept seeing was reusable fabric wax wraps for use in place of cling film and foil and whatnot. So I started looking around, but they were really expensive. Three, like a small, medium, and large, would run about $18, and I figured, you know what, I bet I can make it myself using beeswax and 100% cotton fabric. The cool thing about these is that when you're done with them, say you can use them for about 150 times or about a year. So after you're done, they've gotten kind of like they don't hold together anymore, they've lost all their wax. What you can do is cut them up and throw them in your compost bin or compost pile. They're completely compostable as long as you use 100% cotton fabric and beeswax. So here's what they are. They're basically just a piece of cloth that you will cut to whatever size you want, and to use them you would put them over your bowl or your dish or your food, and you would just kind of use the heat from your hands. Now my hands aren't very warm, so if you have warmer hands it'll seal a lot quicker, and of course I'm in my basement which isn't heated, so if I was upstairs in the kitchen it would seal a lot faster. But you basically just kind of press around the edges, and the heat from your hands will seal it down, and that will protect your food while it's in the fridge. You can also wrap up, like if you ate half an apple, you could wrap up your apple with this, or avocado, or whatever it is that you might ordinarily stick into a bag. Another fun thing that you can do is actually turn them into like sandwich bags or snack bags if you send your kids to school with like a cold lunch. So this is one of the larger ones that I had made, which I thought might fit a casserole dish. I think it might be a little too small for a casserole dish. So what I'm going to do is fold it in half. I'll show you how to make these in just a second. I'm just kind of showing you what you might want to use them for, so if you're not interested then you can skip ahead. And then you can seal up the sides. I'd fold them over twice, but I have seen other people, you know, not even fold them over that much. And they will seal down better if you have warmer hands, or you know, you're in a heated part of your home. And then you've got a little packet to put your sandwich or your snacks in or whatever, and then you would just seal down the top. And you could just, you know, hold your hands there for a, you know, 10-15 seconds or so and get that to seal down, and fold it over twice if you want, or you can even put a cute little clip there. But I mean, it does a pretty good job, and you're not throwing a baggie in the trash. So if that sounds like it's right up your alley, then stick around and I'll show you how to make these. Okay, I have my heat-proof Teflon mat on my work table, and then I've got a piece of parchment paper on top, and you can keep reusing the same parchment paper as you go, so you don't have to waste a bunch of that. And then when you're done, your parchment paper can be, it's just beeswax and parchment paper. You could use it as a campfire starter, which we have a fire pit in our backyard, so we do a lot of fires. Now I want to get the most from my fat quarter of fabric, and I've already washed it so you can see the edges are frayed. I just figured that would be a good idea rather than just using it fresh from the store, because you know, it's going to be used for food, so you want to make sure it's nice and clean. And if it's going to do any shrinking, it can do that when you wash it. And I am simply going to use pinking shears to cut this in quarters. You could press it first if you want, but I think it's going to be fine just to cut. Actually, you know what? Maybe I will press it. I am going to put parchment paper on top because I have been using my craft iron for different things, and I just don't want to get any schmutz on my fabric. My craft iron gets used for all sorts of stuff in the craft room. And if you do get any wax on it while you're working, just while it's still hot, carefully wipe it with a paper towel and you can remove any of that. There, it will be a little easier to cut now. So I'm going to begin, I'm just going to fold it in quarters, and that will give me 4 pretty good size wraps. It would fit most bowls, like cereal bowl size I have, to maybe a little bit larger. And I'm going to use pinking shears because I had used my rotary cutter in my quilting squares to make some uniform sized wraps. However, I noticed that they were fraying a little bit even after I had put the wax on it, which I thought that would stop the fraying, but I still had some threads, and I really didn't want that. I knew that would drive me nuts if I was like using them and I kept having to deal with a bunch of loose threads in my kitchen towel drawer. So I decided that I would just pink the edges. if you had a pinking rotary cutter, I think they make those, you could use your, probably you could use your quilting edges then. I don't know, I don't have one of those, so I don't know how that works. And so you want to just cut your fabric so that you have pinked edges. Now you can make these whatever size you want. A really great idea would be to recycle old clothing. Like if you have some 100% cotton t-shirts or blouses or something that you don't need anymore. Maybe they've worn out, they're too shabby to wear out anywhere, and so of course they'd be too shabby to donate. You could turn those into your wax wraps and give them a whole new life. Or if you had a cute shirt that got a stain on it or something and you like the fabric, but again, had a stain that you couldn't get out, you can't donate it, it'd be a great way to recycle that fabric. There we go. Okay, so now we've got 4 pieces of fabric about the same size. You can make as many or as few as you like. Now what we're going to use is beeswax. This is 100% natural white beeswax. You can order it online. I'll put a link in the video description. This is handy because my husband had it because he makes cutting boards, and he makes his cutting board conditioning wax, or I guess conditioner, or whatever. You rub the wax into your cutting boards to keep it from getting all dried and cracked. So he had a bunch of this already, so that worked out really well. It's not very expensive, so that's nice. And that way you don't have to deal with petroleum products if you don't want. I think paraffin wax probably would be fine, like canning wax, but a lot of people don't want to use that, and I can understand. And now we're going to put another piece of parchment on top. So I've got, we're going to make 2 fabrics at once, okay? And the wax is in the center. And now we're going to use our iron to melt the wax. You can do this in an oven, like a low oven. You would put your parchment paper on a cookie sheet, and you put your fabric on top, and you'd sprinkle on the pellets, and then you would melt them at like 200 degrees, something pretty low. And I got a wrinkle in there. And then you would probably use like a rubber spatula or a silicone spatula to spread around any unmelted, or just make sure you really want to cover the fabric. So you would spread it around to make sure that everything got covered. Now this is going to waterproof the fabric and make it so it will kind of adhere. Now sometimes I'll move the paper around a little bit to help disperse the wax. And sometimes we have to add a little bit more. Right, I'm going to check it, see how everything, oh, it's pretty well melted. I see a few areas that don't seem to have quite enough on it. So what I'll do is just put a little bit on there. And the reason I like to keep reusing the same parchment paper over and over again is because all that excess wax that didn't get used this time will get used the next time. So each time you make a new wrap, it goes a little bit quicker because there's already like a base of wax down there. And considering you can use this for a year or more, it will, there'll be savings in plastic wrap and foil you won't have to buy. Now, because this is a heat-sensitive product we're making, you don't want to go and throw this in your wash. You do not want to throw it in your dryer. You want to wash this by hand in cool water and just hang it to dry. It'll dry pretty quick because it's not going to be absorbing the water. It's just mostly going to be getting like the, apple juice or, soup, whatever you store that's on the surface. You'll just be washing that off. So it's not going to be like, the fabric is getting saturated and gross. And when it gets to the point where it doesn't work anymore, which will be about 150 uses, then you just cut it up small and compost it. There we go. This looks pretty good. Okay. It is a little warm, so be careful when you pull these apart, but you do want to kind of pull them apart warm. And there you can see it is completely saturated. I am going to set this aside on another piece of parchment paper to dry. Or to cool rather, and then you can do as many others as you have. So there you have it. That's how you make faux plastic wrap or waxed fabric. I'm really excited to use these in my kitchen. I'm excited to be getting to a more less waste, more resourceful home, and I hope this helps you and certainly saves you some money. And I also think these would be really nice gifts for the holidays. If you have family or friends that are looking to go a little more green in their home, save some money, and you know, it's kind of a luxury gift when you think about it. You know, these would cost, 3 of them cost 18 bucks on Amazon, and you can make them for, you know, a couple dollars. The fact, depending on how expensive you buy for your fabric, and or whether you recycle it, and where you buy your beeswax. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please give me a thumbs up if you did. And until next time, happy crafting.